Well, it'd be good if it recorded. Oh, we're live. Welcome back to Selling Frankston. Dad, how you doing?
I am very good, Josh. You?
Oh, I've been better. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, guys. It's prime time. I was off work yesterday. It's never fun. At least I took a few calls and they go, gee, at least you're taking the phone call. It's like, well, what else am I meant to do? I'm laying in bed. So, guys, in today's topic of conversation is a bit of a common mistake, and especially in this market, there's been a lot of heat in the Frankston and the Frankston South area. It's all green, right, Dad? It's all going up. That's what's been happening for 2025 and over the last 12 months. Big mistake, though, is relying on past markets and relying on all the data that's been happening probably within the last year and expecting that to just continue to flow through. You probably have seen that predominantly as well when you would have seen when COVID happened. And then when you came out of COVID, because you had such a spike, everyone still wanted those, as you'd call, COVID prices.
COVID prices. You look, I think in any market, there's always ebbs and flows. So it's a bit like a peak and then it troughs and it goes down. So sometimes when it starts to go down, you can actually feel it in the numbers via open for inspections. You can feel it by the way the buyers are actually making offers. So to me, it's like, it's interesting when you're sitting with someone who says, oh, look, that one across the road sold and that one went for 2.1. And you go, yeah, that was in 2022. And we're now 2026. So historically, look, you could go back probably, if it's sort of acreage properties, you can go back probably 12 months because it's sort of fairly, if anything, they're there. But I think if you go back any longer than 12 months or 2 years or 3 or 4, even go back 5 years, it's just changed. And also the other thing that I'd point out, we see this a lot, it's only when a client actually turns up at one of our auctions and they actually hear and see it for themselves, the vibrant and the enthusiasm from the bidders, and you hear that it's on the market, and then it just takes off. Right now, we get a lot of clients will say, "Oh, you sold that property for a huge price. We want the same price, and we think ours is better," but they've never been through it. They want to do everything not like what we have done in the past. So it is quite an interesting conversation when you're sitting with sellers.
Well, it's just something that you realistically shouldn't do. At the
Very
end of
much
the day,
so.
I think, look, you can look at if there's current recent comparables that have just sold on your street or around you. Yes, it's good to use them as and anchor yourself to them, but also then look and go, what did they actually do?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if they ran it to, we were just talking about it before, if you ran it through to an auction, you had fierce competition. That auction day, you had all these buyers that had done their due diligence, had done the building and pests. They're there, they've shown up on the day, and you've got 4 or 5 hands thrown up.
Yep.
You're going to get a great result.
Great result. Yeah.
If you're then got that owner who's going, well, we want that same price, but we want to do it via private sale. It's a different ball game.
The other thing that here in Victoria, we've got a thing called a statement of information that the government put in. So what that means is when we come up with a price range, whether that be the owner or the agent has said, look, we think, based on some recent sales, this is what it is. The statement of information has 3 sales. And you can't go back 12 months. You've got to go past in the last 3 to 6 months. I think it's 6 months.
You're pricing.
It's 6 months. So, and as we know, historically, we're seeing data. So at the moment, there's a medium house price. And that's another, we're sort of moving into that. But when a property sells on Saturday, it's recorded, but it's when it settles, that's when, things come in. So if you don't have your finger on the pulse, some agents will say, oh yeah, look, that property there, that we'll just grab these sales, put them up and we'll use them as comps. But they didn't realize that under extreme fierce competition, that property sold at auction and got a huge result. How can you compare that with a 3-bed? And by the way, we've seen agents do it where we've sold one for a 3-bedder and it's a huge price. They've used that as a comp and they've got a 4-bedder.
Yeah.
Now, you've got to be comparing 4-bedders with 4-bedders, 3-beds with 3-beds, 2-beds, apples with apples. And that's where I think, look, it's really important that happens.
I have a really good point and just on the market because obviously there's a lot of, we've got, interest rates or the cash rate's gone up to 3.85%. There's a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace as well with inflation. and where that's sort of heading over the next year. They're anticipating maybe one or two more rate hikes, which would be look, you just don't know. Well, you don't know on any given day with the RBA. But I just want to just touch on something.
Yep.
A lot of the buyers agents, and they say this, and it's very true. So we have a statement of information in Victoria where we have to identify comparable sales that have sold within the last 3 to 6 months. Ideally, if you can get them, a recent sale within the last 3 months, then you can justify the value that you're, putting to the market.
Yep.
However, this buyer's agent said to me, look, as soon as an interest rate hike or it goes down, it becomes an entirely new market.
Correct.
And he's not wrong, because if you look at what happened once they've raised the rates as of this year, it's still a strong market.
Strong market.
However,
Buyers
it's
a little bit
definitely
more
made them a bit more
tentative.
tentative. So you can't say that it is the same market as to what it was at the end of last year. It is just not that. So to compare your property and go, well, that went for this. Hey, you got to look at your buyer pool. Investors have probably pulled out a little bit more. I reckon 2 out of 5 investors are starting to come back a little bit with their money.
But we'll touch on that subject because there is a reason why, and that's a really important thing that we need to cover. But what I think, Josh, is really important, as you know, is the statement of information is there to give people a guide. And, when you give people certainty, when an interest rate rise goes up, which we've seen, and look, there's always speculation. I always say to people, turn the TV off, because at the end of the day, if that is gonna make a difference in you going to buy or not, I think if anything, you're probably sitting on the fence and you're not committal. Yeah. I've seen more people buy in, and once they buy in, and then within 3 to 6 months, by the end of the year, they're going, geez, the market's kicked, and they've done well. They're actually in the market. So we know with an election year, so here in Victoria, we've got an election in November. So there's always a bit of speculation. So spring this year is going to be an interesting one. I will say that.
Do you reckon, and something for anyone to consider, what do you think those trigger points, and how do you define when you're starting to see the market either one take off or one come off? What are you seeing? Is it foot traffic? Is it the inquiry levels? Is it the amount of offers? What's the key gauges? And that's a great question, Josh. When you're, as you know, when you're on market, there are key performance indicators that I look at, and that is foot traffic online. And you can have, like, REA gives you some statistics, so it could be campaign impressions, and they're like 60, 70, 80,000. So it just might come across someone's glance. They see it, they just glance over it. It's more the actual viewings of the property. So if you're getting 1,000 views per week, it means you're tracking all right. Anything over 1,000, if you're getting 1,500 to 2,000 a month, a week, that means you've got really good, strong synergy in the marketplace, because one, it's either marketed really well, or two, it's been priced beautifully. Okay. And that will then generally, roll into the numbers coming through. So, well, just a little bit of an insight on that. The insights behind a campaign, they always track them through realestate.com. Yep. They do have a median, so an average of what, other properties that you're comparing yourself with are normally performing at. If you are above that, that's where you want to be positioned.
You want to be above that. Yeah, absolutely.
You want more people looking at your house.
Yeah, the more people looking. And look, as you get higher up in price, that probably the pyramid of buyers, you've got, you got the bargain basement, logical buyers, and then the top, the dream price. As the higher the price you go, there's the thinning of the buyer pool will happen. So generally speaking, you would say 80% of the buyer pool is going to be sort of between that sort of, for a house, 800 to sort of 1.2. That's 80% of your buyer pool. And then there's a lot less as you go up. So you've got to pick it right. So to me, I think, Josh, what we were just talking about in terms of the, what we were talking about the...
we went off topic. We went hard off topic. Yeah. We're more or less just relying on past markets. That's what we were saying.
You've got COVID prices. COVID was different. We had buyers come from the city that were locked up in little, single fronted terraces, no backyards, and they'll buy them off market, sight unseen, ridiculous prices.
So I guess a common true theme that you're saying is anyone that's doing a lifestyle move. So if you're trading in and around, the market that you're living in, so Frankston or Frankston South, and they're becoming more owner-dominated markets. So it doesn't really affect them, but the investor markets, the economic backgrounds and all these things, they have a big...
There's ramifications.
Ramification, yes.
With whenever there's an election, what people want to see is what changes will be there. So if, for example, if you've got a government that's in the opposition and potentially could be coming in and they're talking about big build and, you know, we really want to make sure that we get building up and running and there could be some tax incentives for investors or first-home buyers, that can stimulate the market. So if you have, there's certain aspects, so people will sit back and wait. And what generally happens is once the dust settles, it's usually a couple of weeks, bang, people are back to normal. It happens all the time. So I say to people, when an interest rate rise goes up, there will be people that will be, you know, and we are seeing some, you know, and we're hearing of people that are, that you know, at the moment they've been struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And now their work, because of what's happening with AI, et cetera, their positions are sort of, you know, they're on rocky road and they're looking at potentially starting a family. So that then to go and start a family and not have another income, you've got two incomes coming in, all of a sudden a single one. They're looking going, is it going to be feasible for us to be able to facilitate a loan?
We're seeing, that across the board.
And we see that, yeah.
Just on that, for anyone out there, and it is human behavior, you know, it's a mindset sort of thing.
Yeah.
You do, you know, comparison is a great thing. I mean, we have to put comparable properties on a statement of information that is governed by the government. So, you know, it has actually become a thing where people want to be able to understand how you've justified the value. So when you don't have it, I get why sellers...
Now, Josh, question to you.
No, just sort of finish. I've got to finish. With just on that, what would you be saying for anyone who is thinking about selling? What would be the key things to move forward? Because it is normal to want to compare your house to someone else.
Absolutely.
But what would you be saying you should be putting your focus more towards?
I think the most important thing is focus on you.
Yeah.
Okay? Focus on your property, your strengths. What is your strengths? If you've got an amazing outdoor area, focus on that.
So the features of the house.
Features of the home, right? Yeah. Get it looking as good as you can. So first impressions count. So from the moment they walk in through the fence line, etc., everything's looking on point. As soon as they walk in, you know, everything smells great, looks good. You know, you basically
activate the five senses. A great thing as well, anyone who's ever going to do any renovations, think about the areas that are going to be photographed.
Yeah.
And focus on them. Like focus your attention, the big living areas, the kitchens, you know, the things that really pop and stand out and people love.
Yeah.
You said it the other week. You said, you know, what's the one thing that can make or break a house? The kitchen, the heart of the home.
The heart of the home, the epicenter of the home. But also, you know, your outdoor area. I mean, I think at the moment we give so much information away. So when we go online, you'll see some agents will have 40, 50,
this is our secret sauce. It's all out there now.
But 40, 50 photos. So I reckon what's going to happen, this is my prediction, in a couple of years' time, you might only have 2 or 3 photos, bang. And it'll just be, I think that's where this is me, you know, because I think
we follow America and Europe.
Let me.
Sorry, I've cut you off.
You've cut me off.
Did a one.
There's a lot of, you did a one. There's a lot of people that have got attention deficiencies. So their attention span's not there. So just having an image and, you know, maybe just dot points. Sometimes if you look at our advertising, the way we do it, we do follow America, there's no doubt. But I think sometimes it can be an overload. And when there's too many photos, we always put the money shots the first 2 to 3. Yeah. And it might not be in sequential order. And what I mean by sequential order is when you arrive at the property, you walk through the front door, you see this beautiful living area or you know, formal entrance. We will put, hey, beautiful kitchen shot, beautiful pool shot, backyard shot, whatever's going to be the money shot. We want to grab them and then we give everything. I think we should be looking at with track.
Well, I remember saying that. I think less is more sometimes. I think, and it creates a bit of mystery.
Mystique,
What did you just say?
Mystique.
Mystique. What is that?
Oh, it's mysterious.
Anyway, I think that, and just on that, back in, you know, maybe when REA first started, was it that, because you were pretty big on the subsequential order of having, you know, front of the house, then you walking through, if you have a hallway shot, then, you know, whether it be
the floor of the home.
Almost the floor plan and the flow of the home. Yeah. Did you used to just run it where you'd always have the front of the house? Was that the shot?
Yeah, it was. And then I started to find out, like we introduced dust shots. So I remember a guy, he came to me and we had a photographer who was aligned to myself. And this guy was hungry. He came in and I knew him through a friend, and he said, I want to do dust shots one. I would love to get you on because you got a lot of really beautiful homes that you're selling, Frankston South and Frankston. I said, yeah, that'd be great. He said, look, I'll even do you a deal where we'll do dust shots, but it'll be like 5 a.m. as the sun rises.
That's smart.
It was smart. So we were getting, like at one stage there, I was listing 30 to 40 properties a month personally. So I had a team of people, but we couldn't get all our photos done at night because everyone went at dusk. And then what happened was we were doing dawn shots. So, I mean, look, photos, sequential, how it's done, marketing's changed a lot.
You think that's the attention span?
I think the attention span now, look, we see people that will click on it and then they just click out. If you can get people in, the hardest thing is getting people to actually call. How many calls do we get? Like you know this. How many people call us?
If you look at an average campaign, and we run at just over 5,000 listing views every campaign, which is great numbers, you're probably only getting on a very hot campaign just north of 20. But on an average, you're probably around 8 to 12.
I reckon if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
I reckon we see more people that don't want to engage with agents.
And that makes sense.
It makes sense. The hardest thing is, and this is the thing that I had a conversation with a client yesterday. How we have people, we have to get people when they walk through our property. So they won't email us or anything, but they'll come to our property and they just expect that they can just walk through. Now, one of the things we do is, under the Privacy Act, we will collect their data. Now, we have people that will just try and storm past us. And I'm a bit like, hey, excuse me, we've got to get your details. And then they'll be rude. Oh, we don't want to give you details. And I said, well, look, if you don't want to give us your details, that's fine. We can't let you in the property.
I had a guy the other week literally say, if you contact me, I'll be seeing you at your office. And I was like, well, I almost felt like saying to the person, Josh, you actually shouldn't come through the house then. But
now Josh, what I did, and you were very sensible. What I did was when I heard that I was already engaging with someone else. As he came out, he was super friendly. But what I did say to him, I said, I heard the conversation you had with my son. I'm actually going to delete you now. And I deleted him. And he said, he was umming and ahhing. I said, you said that you didn't want to buy this house and you don't want to be contacted. Under the Privacy Act, we now know that, yes, that was your number. But can I give you some advice? And I clipped him. And I said, if you're wanting to go through a home and an agent's not taking your number,
you should be worried if that's your house.
You should be worried if that's your house, right? Yeah. That's number one as an agent. Number two, if you're not wanting to, if you want to be on the call, do not call register. I get it, because as agents, it will get your number and they will just pester you, spam and all the rest of it. I get that. And you don't want that. And look, we've been, you got to flush out that.
Hey, hold on. Our job is to be a pest. That is genuinely our job. Our job is to make sure that we have shaken every little cent out of that database. Everyone that's come through that home, we've made sure that everyone has had an opportunity to put an offer forward. But if you're going to be genuinely rude, if I call you, you're going to see me at the office. I may as well just not let you in the house, to be quite frank. Maybe next time I will have that approach.
I gave this guy a clip and he said, I would like to talk to your boss. I said, well, you're looking at him. And more or less, we ended off okay. It was that was that guy. I was diplomatic, but I did say, I've been doing this 25 years and I've had some problems with some people. And it's very little, but there are some people that are actually feel very entitled and think that we're basically lower than pond scum. That's what they see us as. I always say to people, treat people the way you want to be treated. If he wants to treat my son like shit, go for it. But just understand. I'm not going to hold back, and I'll just tell you how I feel.
The beautiful thing is, and we can't underestimate this. We are the least amount of education, but we're in one of the jobs that can earn the most, which is incredible. But you would, and Dad, you could attest to this: the amount of work, hours, sacrifice from family, all the stuff that you haven't seen, and spent. Away from us to build for us. It's an incredible amount of time. I remember there were days where you would have to run off from a birthday party to get contracts signed. This brings me to my next point about the old school way of real estate, connecting with old people, school. The calls, everyone still used to get the landline. Then you think about your print media. That hasn't really gone out. You've still got your signboards going up. You got your brochures. You got your letterbox drops. But then you got that new tech era where you've got artificial intelligence through realestate.com, which filters you the correct properties. Realestate.com has really taken out the shop window. We can say that
without doubt,
gone are the days. Now we don't know. The great thing is, I'd be screwed in my car, but we don't have to drive anyone around to appointments or properties.
Well, old school, you had print media, Rupert Murdoch, it was all print. You had the Leader, and then you had the Independent, especially down here. And then if you wanted to do anything special, there was the Bayside, and I was great at selling advertising for those spaces. So if you had a really beautiful big home, and I'll be honest, like you had people
about newspaper,
yeah, you had newspaper ads. But then as slowly as newspaper slowed down, that's when the wave of the internet came about. Right now, do you need shop windows? Probably not, I'll be honest. Like a lot of offices that are in the area, they don't actually have, they used to have the windows where people would, be tapping on the windows.
Well, we've shown that.
We've shown that, yeah. Like we effectively, there's so many offices that don't actually work
in the office.
In the town that they're in.
Yeah.
So, COVID had a massive play in that. You couldn't go into your office. You couldn't work there. And now people want you to go back to work. But at the end of the day, we do most of our work in the office. It's callbacks. We're always in people's lounge rooms, front lawns. Saturdays, we're meet and greeting. We're out and about on people's homes selling. And that's the best thing about real estate.
Yeah. So the old school ways are still very much there.
There's still a lot of old school that needs like your big boards.
The pointer boards?
Absolutely. You know how many people that I've had?
Damn it. It makes me more of a job for me. I was hoping you were going to say, no, take that out. No.
Well, it's interesting. I've had people that have bought properties that weren't even looking for that particular property. I've sold many, many homes because of open boards.
Well, I'm only stirring with that. I think that if you are selling and you're going to advertise, don't cut any expenses there. Do the signboard, show certainty that you are selling to the marketplace. The agent should be doing their pointer boards. They should be doing letterbox drops saying that it's just listed, inviting neighbours to the grand opening.
Don't cut corners.
Do not cut corners.
As soon as you start cutting corners, it's like baking a cake. You take an ingredient here. You've seen someone make an amazing cake, put it in the oven. You're micromanaging the agent saying, no, take that ingredient out. I don't want that. Well, guess what? That cake's not going to turn out the same.
Well, if you go to a restaurant and you order extras, like when you order all your stuff, you still have to pay for it, right?
Correct.
That is just part. If you have a set menu, you can't just go, oh, nah, take this off,
yeah,
take that away,
I would
take
like,
this off.
yeah.
I want it, and then cut the discount off. It's like, hold on. Then the whole value, and the important part for the people to understand, the value is actually your property price. It is not what the agent and what you're paying them. It is only your property price that's going to be impacted more. So I would say boards matter. We've sold, one of our best sales last year was off the back of a pointer board.
Correct.
A lady lived locally.
Yep.
She lived locally. She was driving back from work. We always try and time our opens. And I'm going to say this. If an agent's doing opens between 3 and 4 p.m. on a midweek day, they are trying they're not going to get the mums from the school. That is just not a thing. Mum wants to get back to the house and just they're going to get no one. If we do ours after.
Okay, question to you: why do you reckon agents are doing 3 to 4 p.m?
To show that the market doesn't have anyone interested.
So it's more of an education tool. So you'll hear agents talk about conditioning your client, get them down in price. If you're doing an open for inspection between 3 and 4, you can guarantee, unless it's an absolute, if it's priced so well and it's absolute, you'll get people. It doesn't matter what time of the, you could call an auction at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. You still get people turning up because it's ready to go. If you don't have the foot traffic and they're saying, "Oh, we'd like you to go 3 to 4," that is the worst time because I know for a fact people will take time if they're at work. They'll skip their lunch break, work all the way through. Say they were going to finish at 5, they get off at 4. They'll drive from the city or pick up the kids' family. Between 5 and 6:30 is where you want to be doing it. So if you're doing it between 3 to 4:30, good luck because it's not going to happen.
If you're an owner and that time suits you, probably not best to do it. Think about, because you're going to clean your house, have it all presented for the open home. You're better off just doing it a little bit later to make sure that, hey, if there's people that are driving back from work, they've got ample opportunity to come through, inspect. You are right, though. Effectively, anyone that is super interested in your house will make the time. Doesn't matter what commitments they've got in their life, they'll make it work. That's a good summary. I think that that's great for the old school. I think all that stuff still works.
And the new way of doing things, like I love the fact that the cold calling's actually gone. I'll be honest. Like if you're, and it is harder. I will say this for any new agents. We used to get it like when I got into real estate. They basically have you big yellow pages with all the numbers, and you would scan through and just call. That's how. And you go from A to Z. Then you have your card system. Then internet databases, CRMs all happen. So you've now got all this data. The thing is, if you've got good properties, people are going to come to it. It's a bit like it's like a like a light. The moths to a light, they're going to come after it, and you get to meet a lot of nice people. So if you can present very well, and you have a good engagement, and you really do the right thing on an open, people will gravitate towards you. They get to know you. They understand. They like the transparency. None of the crap that comes.
Well,
with
we get
it.
a lot of. I mean, and we've always prided ourselves on our ability to make sure everyone's experience is done really well.
Yep.
Open homes, like you said, activating the 5 senses, but that's not just enough. If your agent's on the door and he's just been a little. This sounds bad, but a little peacock and thinking he's awesome. That's not really helping anyone. So
the other pet hate. Sorry,
Josh.
Josh.
Continue to talk. No,
the other pet hate was I remember we did a survey. We actually had an independent when I was part of a franchise. They did a survey, so they went through and had a look at all the offices, and they noticed and it was interesting. The ones up in Bayside, and they were franchise owners, etc. A lot of them were on the phone while the buyers were walking through. So they weren't actually engaging with the buyers.
Yeah, that's not
that's not good. So, we get clients that will call and want to chat about the open. Like we will, straight after the open, we'll say, hey, look, we've got, 20 minutes. We'll let you know how we go. At the end of the day, we like to give a bit of a wrap. The interesting thing is sometimes, the owners want to call and we're like, I'll say, look, I'll call you back later because I can't talk. While I'm at an open, the buyers have my undivided attention. That is it.
Full attention.
So it's like having, when you see people now, they go to dinner and you see them and they're like this. They're on Valentine's Day, they're just on the phone. The other person's on the phone. What you want to do is be engaged. I've always taught, when anyone's coming in, it's how you make people feel. If I'm on the phone and I'm like, oh, Josh, yeah, and you're talking to me and I'm like, yep.
Yeah, it's not a conversation.
It's not a conversation.
You're having a conversation with your phone and I'm trying to have a conversation.
So anyone that turns up, you should be so excited to see him, except when you have a rude prick. But if it's a rude person, I always love them with kindness. But if they get to the point where they're just too rude, I just tend to say, look, thank you for your time. You're not interested. And I would say 100% of the time our clients are they don't want people that are rude or trying to disrupt. And we have had people that have tried to disrupt opens.
Yeah, you definitely, we get that a lot. And
that brings that to the guy in, there was a gentleman just this week, he got a lot of press.
It was last week, he got a lot of press.
Yeah, he unfortunately, I don't know this guy, I don't know him personally, but I know a lot of people that have used him uptown. They love him. But I don't know whether he got set up. There was a camera there.
It would have been their camera for their gate. I think everyone thinks that it was a camera set up. I can't imagine he wouldn't have not been able to see that.
Yeah. I always used to say to people, like all the staff, imagine if you're at an open for inspection.
Imagine you're being watched. There's always cameras.
We've seen, like I know that there was an agent. There's an agent that's still working in our core area, and he got the agency that he was previously working for, he got caught doing something wrong in the house.
Oh.
And what happened was the property was sold and the owners came and spoke to the general manager and said, hey, look, I've got some footage of your client doing some, not great things.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and what ended up happening was the thing was, I remember this clearly because I spoke to the general manager at the time and he said, we're not going to take a bribe. We're not going to let go of the commission because the property went through, but they withheld it and it was like bribery. And the guy said, well, look, we don't know how many copies of tape you're going to get. And then he said, no, we're going to make sure it goes through. We're not giving you a discount, nothing. And what they did, they then released it, all that information to Today Tonight, Channel 9. So all these current affair shows came running down. And it was, look, what the guy did was wrong. But I always say to people, when you're in someone's home, treat it like it's your own.
Yeah.
As in, look after it. Like it's,
I don't know if you'd want to treat it as your
sorry. Treat it like it's like your grandparents.
Yeah.
Your grandparents, they wouldn't just let you just lay on the couch. I've seen people, do some strange things. When we're at the property,
when you're there to serve. You're there to meet and greet. You're there to talk with them about their journey. You're there to understand what they're here for, and you want to understand how you can help them with this specific house. And at the end of the day, if it's not for them, then you can help them. Whether or not there's another house that's coming on around the corner, you can pass that details on to them. But I get what you're saying. It's one of those.
It's one of those things. But
what he said
was probably
he
not.
said was so wrong. He probably could have said.
He could have framed it a lot better. But
it's funny. Let me talk. What was really funny is when he had the blower, because what basically had happened, this lady's out the front, he's doing an inspection right next door. She's doing a leaf blower and blowing and getting all the gardens prime time. Now, if that was done, I don't know when that was done, I don't know what day, but maybe it was the only time she could do. Yeah. And, it is frustrating when you do have stuff like that, but stuff like that shouldn't matter. A dog barking is 10 times worse because that's an actual dog that's going to stay there for a long time. How he approached it.
Yeah, he didn't approach it well. But look, the organisation, they basically seized his employment straight away. Yeah. The thing that I would say is that's why sometimes when we will ask the question sometimes, say if there is if there is a seller and they say we don't want a board, generally speaking, there's a reason why. And I'll dig a little bit and push and ask why. And generally they won't say. It's usually halfway through the campaign or when the property's sold, they'll say, hey, look, we didn't want the board. Yes, we want it on. We've had trouble with our neighbours. Yeah. And you've got to understand that there are neighbours that will create dramas. Like I've seen it, like where they have had the blower, they've had the chainsaw going next door. And they deliberately did it. And I know that it's been on TV many times where people do opens and they're revving the cars up the next, they've got the mechanics, they've got the mates.
Or like you have someone, we've had it plenty of times. You just see a car go and then they'll just rip a skid and you're
they rip a skid and you go, and they've done that deliberately because it could be you just don't know what's going on. But we're dealing with people. As
the agent, he's probably got to be. Yeah, you got to be respectful, understanding. It is. You don't own that house. No, you don't have the right to stand there and say you got to turn that off. It is their property.
He could have just said, "Hey, excuse me,
do you mind turning off the blower? I've just got some people next door. I really love it just to be a little bit quiet so that we can hopefully get a great price and help you guys for the area." Yep. That probably would have been sufficient.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He probably went down.
Well, he was probably sitting there.
He's probably having a shit day.
He was having a shit day, but I was saying maybe clearly no one's coming through. He wanted to get this resolved, and people don't. Agents are there to sell a home. Yeah. So if someone's trying to sabotage it, and in his mind he might have been, they're trying to sabotage it.
Which is probably...
You don't know. You just don't know. I don't know. But anyway. Right,
let's jump on. We're going to go game day summary Saturday. Yep. We had 3 opens, 27 groups come through.
Yep.
Good thing is we had 5 cash-ready buyers between that $1.5 to $3 million mark. So we opened some very, very nice properties over the weekend. How did you find it? What was in terms of your energy gauge, where are you at with it? Like we have...
I thought the energy was great on the day. Like I thought the auction, even though we had a little bit of interest afterwards, that was the energy there. That was good. I think, as we know, sometimes buyers can be a bit cautious in putting their hands up. But what's happening now? It's just flushing out the good from the bad, and we've got some. It's like going to Sovereign Hill. You got you're sifting
through all the crap, and
then you get all the crap, and you're getting all the gold, and that's what's going to happen. That's what's happening as we speak. The one in Robinson's Road, and the other opens that we've done. And we've got properties from 1.5 up to 2.5 million. So, for the numbers that we've been getting for those sort of properties, it's been tremendous. Yeah. We know that market has slowed up a little bit if the price isn't right.
Correct.
So we're getting properties online at the right time. The one in Langwarrin South had a lot of buyers looking at it, which was great. And we're working through some potentials there, so it's good. Yeah,
no, that's good. And what we're going to do, we're just going to touch on that. I want to talk about the market because we've had a lot of people. This year with the cash rate hike. Yep. It is not shifting, but the top end always will soften first in any marketplace.
Always does.
If you we look at the median price in Frankston right now for a house. I'm just actually going to bring this up. it's $825,000. Now on REA, it's actually saying it's
Frankston,
$860,000.
Yep.
So if you range it and you go conservative, it's 820 to 870. That's sort of where your median, and that's across the board, which is great for a unit. And just on that, that's gone up 16.3% in the last year. It was the second fastest growing in Victoria, fourth overall in Australia, which is huge. The median unit value is $580,000. That's also up 6.4%. Sellers in Frankston and Frankston South are just sitting on gold mines at the moment.
They're doing well.
And then in Frankston South, there's a lot of variant data at the moment. Some, peak COVID days was at 1.23. And
we're tracking at 1.2 at the moment.
Well, it's at 1.2, but funnily enough, some other platforms have it closer to 1.3.
I know, 1.28. Yeah.
Which is very interesting. I don't understand. That's up just on 9.9% at the 1.2 level. And then the median for a unit is 831,000. This is the part that I'm guessing there's a lot of downsizing happening
at the moment.
We haven't sold a heap of units in Frankston South, but 19.6%. We've got a few coming on which are going to be incredible properties.
Absolutely.
But 19.6% increase in 1 year. That's a fifth of a property.
I'll tell you now, the reason why, Josh, that is because you've got the Frankston Hospital. That's just been completed. So the Peninsula University campus,
you're
hospital.
A smart one.
A lot of people are downsizing, wanting to they're cashing up. They're putting a few $100,000, putting some in a super, getting their place ready and downsizing so that they can just enjoy the luxuries and know that they're within if they need to get down, it's a short ride rather than be in Mount Martha or Mount Eliza. Interesting thing is, and I will say this, in my 25 years, a barometer for people that are looking at how the market's tracking, if the market ever drops, it will, like you said before, it drops real quick at the top end. The place that I always look at, and it's a suburb right next to us, is Mount Eliza. As soon as there's a glut of property that comes on, the prices are sitting there, homes are on markets for a long time, that's when you know the market's slowing up, because generally speaking, that'll be the first to take off and it's the first to just the handbrake goes right on. So,
is that because of how owner dominated it is?
Correct. Yeah. It's so owner dominated, and you'll find they do sometimes call it mortgage hill, because there's a lot of people that will buy in there, say pay 2.5, but they're borrowing say $1 million or 1.5. They're leveraged right up to their eyeballs. So when anything happens, it's quick there where there could be
the turnaround. They either
sell, they have to sell because they're divorcing, and then all of a sudden it's like more property come on, and it's when some of those sales are forced. That's when the median price starts to drop.
I reckon a really crazy thing. I saw a graph the other day.
Yep.
It was the divorce rate with the cash rate, with the interest rate.
Yep.
Historically, go through and just if anyone out there, just go and search that up, and you'll see. Literally,
why don't you put the link? Why don't you put the?
We will put a
link in the link. But
put a link in the link.
In the link, it correlates. So I know, looking at and being in it for a long time, anyone that's under financial duress or stress, that can have implications on your relationships.
Yeah.
So that there in itself is what can happen. So the husband could be working his ass off. Wife might not be working, for example, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, we need to go back. Like interest rates, we're on a variable. They've gone up.
Yeah,
can you just go a little bit easy on the spending?" And they don't, and that's where sometimes, or it could be vice versa. Stop going out playing golf and going here and there. There's ways, because there's some people that are the bookkeepers. Like generally speaking, the women are very good at the bookkeeping side of things. And then there's men that are like they'll just earn. And then it's just there's no money left. So, yeah. Look, I'm only just saying that that's only a small portion, but Mount Eliza is a good gauge as when the market starts to slow down, look there, and then you'll see that it will start to go to other places. Yeah.
In terms of average days on market, if you are in Frankston, in true Frankston, it's 21 days. So that's your average.
Still very good.
Very good. So if you are looking to sell within, and I would say the best sales are probably happening within probably 2 weeks, or if you're taking it through the auction, it's probably 4 weeks. Yeah. And I would say it's probably for the reason, I reckon it would be even lower if it wasn't such an auction.
Look,
market.
if we didn't have auctions, we could have sold it. We would be 7 days. But look, one of the things that we have is we have a lot of our clients that will come with us. They understand the process very well.
Yeah.
They want their property sold for the best possible price. and we just explained that thoroughly for them, and we got sellers that actually want to sell.
And days on market, if you really think about it, it's irrelevant unless you're going over a month and it's in our core area. What I mean by that is...
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Well, we run a process very clearly where if we're an auction, we're a 28-day auction campaign. There's 7 days of lead time or we won't even open the house.
Yeah.
It's holding back. It's a bow and
So
arrow
it's 21,
effect.
it's 21 days.
21 days effectively of inspections.
We have 21 days and we have a great result. It's interesting though. I remember when I first got in to real estate and we had a really bumper period, and then there was, you were selling a home every, say, 25 to 35 days. And then I remember it got to a point where there was just boards everywhere. You had all these listings and days on market was like 90 days. 90 days, 3 months it took. You put a property on it and you would be like, this is really good value. And
90 days.
You couldn't get people through. But anyway,
I
don't think we're at that. We're nowhere near that, and I don't think we'll ever get to that because the technology has changed and people are more savvy now in real estate than ever before. And
also the amount of spotlight that a lot of interstate buyers agents and Melbourne-based buyers agents have put on Frankston. And now with the block coming to Mount Eliza, it's just becoming a hotspot. And people, when we did a video just driving down, and that's everyone loves Frankston. That's gone through the roof as well.
That went viral. It's
110,000. That you might be able to qualify for viral.
I did say that if we got over 100K, I said
you'd buy me lunch.
I'd buy him lunch.
No, that's not what you said. I just made that up.
I'm joking. But I did say it was going to get over 100.
You did,
because I did say we don't want. It's interesting, but we've got. Yeah, it's
well. There's a lot going. There's a lot going for it. And I think with that plan, when the high rise is going as well, I think that's. I know Gould Street owners aren't happy, but we've already touched on that. But I think that it's only going to elevate. I mean, some of the values
some of those pennies,
selling in
some
there.
Of those apartments are going for 1.2 for a two
insane.
bedroom, and that's based on recent historic data over when they were selling Horizon. So the money is there. I think. Yeah, I
reckon it's the next. I reckon, like, if you look at what Frankston has to offer, give it 10 years. I reckon we're going to be ridiculous figures.
Absolutely, and that's why we say to people, if you're wanting to buy, it doesn't matter whether it's interest rates going up, down. There's always a seller that's going to sell, and there's always a buyer that's going to buy.
Yeah,
you've just got to work out which ones want to do which, and don't waste your time with people that don't want to buy.
All right, last but not least, our little game that we play for the thing. We're going to play Seller Trap.
Okay.
Truth or trap. And the objective is you've got to either label it a truth or a trap. And this is for the sellers.
I like it.
So we've got 5 questions.
Sure. Fire away.
And you haven't had a chance to look at them.
All right. Go for them.
If my neighbour sold for 1.5 million last year, mine should too. I'm going to read that out again. That was horrible. If my neighbour sold for $1.5 million last year, mine should too.
Trap.
Why?
Because the market could be different. It could be, say, for example,
but it's better. The stats say that it's better.
Yeah, but say what in 2023 when there was 13 interest rates, some of those sold for 1.25 there was actually, if anything, it might have been a bit low. In saying that, in the market that we saw in 2025 at the start of the year, if you had have sold, it would have gone up. So I think it's a trap. You got to go off the last 3 to 6 months of what's going on.
The market is the market. And if you are above the median value with your property, you've got, like we said, the top will always soften first.
Yep.
That is always what will happen. But you've said it, and time again, we always say it. Either original properties sell really well at the moment and premium properties that are turnkey. You just back the removalist in. And when I say turnkey, I literally mean you put the key in, turn it, open the door, move in.
Get your couches in. You don't have to do anything.
They always outperform in every market. Number 2, overpricing slightly gives you negotiation room.
There's truth in that, but there's also a trap. And what I'd like to elaborate, if, for example, the property is worth 1.5 and you put it on for 1.5 to 1.6, you're within the scope. When you are being told, like 1.7 to 1.8, and then you're reeling them back to, that's a trap. That's a trap and we do see that in markets that actually start to, as the market starts to soften, you'll start to see owners start to move back to the market.
Yeah, I would say that can work if you don't have many comparables on your home.
Yeah.
That is sort of a name your price and see what happens with the market. However, that is when you probably should get 2-3 opinions of value. And they're all going to vary. you're going to have someone that probably does come in with an overinflated price.
I'll give you a tip, Josh. One of the best tips I tell my clients.
I hadn't finished, but that's
I just wanted to interject. But one of the things is there's a lot of agents who will come out and say, oh, look, we think you're worth 1618, and there's best line to cut through the bullshit is say, hey, I'm going to auction. Where's the reserve that needs to be set where I'm going to get hands bidding, where there's value seen. And then you watch, they'll tell you 1.8, and we've seen agents go, oh, no, look, if you went to auction, it was you need to get it on at 1.5. So they've actually told you a porky to say, yeah, we can get you 1.8, and there could be a chance of that. But the reality is to then drop it 300 grand. We've seen it.
Well, if you have, I guess the only time that might work is if you bring a high level of certainty and you say, hey, I've got permission to sell it from the start, or, but then the risk you run with that is the lack of foot traffic. You might only be dealing with a couple of people versus if you actually price according to the market and you have good comparables, it's different.
Yep.
All right. Number 3, the market decides value, not the agent.
True.
Yeah. I don't think we need to talk more about that.
No, we don't need to.
I think that's as clear as day. Longer campaigns create more competition.
That's a trap.
Yeah. That's absolute BS.
BS, yeah.
I mean, we can look at it once there's a certain amount of time.
Mate,
the buyers don't have control.
As a seller, and I've been a seller many times, mate, the last thing you want to be doing, you want to do 4 weeks max. You open your home up. We see clients that have been on the, mate, we've met clients that have been, we've been on the market 6 months and they don't have a life because every weekend they have to be out there getting everything ready for the home open or potential, but maybe some buyers coming through. And then, you know what? These people become recluses because they actually don't want to go down the street and bump into someone and say, oh, how's your house going? I noticed it's been on the market a while. So I'm telling you right now, the shorter the campaign, the better it is.
There's some people that do love it though.
Oh, I know there is. They're suckers for punishment. They love it.
No, but I think they love the idea of going and looking at like other people's properties.
Oh, no,
they really.
Well, no, I thought you were saying they love having it on the market for a long time. I think that is.
Yeah, that's what.
They're a sucker for punishment.
All right, last but not least, agents who promise the most and charge the least usually deliver.
Trap.
Yeah,
that's a dead set trap.
That's like saying, hey, we're going to do the least amount of work because if they're charging the least that they, any other agent would, then are they doing as much work? Probably not.
Clearly, they don't value their own services and process. And 2, if they're not willing to negotiate a fee right there, that tells me that what are they going to do when they're sitting in front of a buyer? How are they going to negotiate? The reality is they're not. So if you've not got someone who's going to be able to do that with confidence in front of you, good luck.
Yeah. That summarizes everything. The market does not. What was I going to say? Sorry, guys.
It's gone a little bit longer than normal, so yes.
The market. Actually, I got it. The market doesn't reward your memory. This is what we'll talk about at the very start.
Very good call.
It rewards the positioning of your property, and that is the most important thing. Is focus on you, focus on your property, focus on your property strengths, and all those things. The old school definitely still does work. Make sure you get your signboards up and your pointer boards out. You never know, someone might be driving past. And one day, all it takes is one person to walk through your house, fall in love with it, and make you a good offer. Thank you so much for watching. Did you have anything else to add, Dad, or are you good?
All good.
We'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
See you guys.